Yay! Live question mark.
Sunday early afternoon. Live for some of you.
Let's see. I got the thing here. My mic is ready. Let me open the Twitch so I can see the stream here. Bam, 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 bam.
Boo, scoo, scoo, doo.
I don't know what happened to my computer, but it kicked me out of everything.
It's just had it with your shit, dude.
Yeah, so I have to like log into all the things.
Like, fuck you and your RGB.
Yeah,
like,
right.
What you got going on?
Light bullshit.
All right, I'm just a computer.
Also, I love like the whole like authenticator stuff that you have to do now, like in the future, you know. But before it was just fuck, bro. Before it was just the Google authenticator that everybody would use. Now everybody wants to have their own authenticator.
Really?
And it's like there's a Google one.
Okay.
Well, there's Google, there's one called Authy, there's Blizzard one, and there's the Steam, then there's
See, I was aware of the Blizzard one long before any of the other ones.
Oh, Blizzard, yeah. Blizzard was first, but it was specific for that game, obviously.
Yeah. Did you ever get like the little fob that they would send?
No, I never did.
It was actually kind of cool because it'd be like, "Oh, we're sending you like an authenticator code." It's like a little pager. It's like, "Here's your code. Only you should know it." I'm like, that's
funny.
That's actually kind of neat. Like, it's weirdly low tech, but it's kind of cool.
I wonder how that worked. That's so crazy. That's such a weird, like,
do you see my eyelashes?
Yeah.
Part of history.
I mean, it was apparently like in such demand that they had to do something. So.
Yeah. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. We're live. We're here. We're queer.
Get used to it.
Yeah.
We
have good sense of fans. No, we don't.
We're 15,000 years in the future. All right.
Whoa. Yeah. I'm big Mechs and be gay.
Be gay. Do crimes.
That should have been the title. Damn it. All right. You ready?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Let me bring down.
I almost snapped my fingers right into the fucking
testing. Testing. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Okay. My little indicator here was all red. I'm like, oh my god.
Just so you're aware, at 1 o'clock an alarm's gonna go off. Don't worry about it. It's just for what I gotta do today. Alarms
are gonna go off. Lights are gonna flicker.
Yeah.
It's gonna get wild on my side, but don't worry about it.
Boop, boop.
I fucking like a red, like a spinning light or whatever, alert light. It's like, holy shit, Andrew, what the hell is happening over there? Oh, I just need to take my pill.
Air raid sirens in the background.
And welcome to another episode of Attack of Opportunity. This is Jose, your host, and with me as usual, Andrew.
Hello, I'm your friendly representative from IPS-N-Northstar. We don't do war crimes. I promise.
Well, that's a good intro.
Okay.
Well, in that case.
Okay. Allow me to reiterate my previous statement.
Yeah, welcome to Attack of Opportunity, a podcast all about tabletop RPGs, board game, video games, movies, and books. We're just two dorks who like to talk about things that we're passionate about. And today we're talking about Lancer, more specifically about a manufacturer, IPS-Northstar. Ooh. In our new series of Lancer, Mechs, and manufacturers. So stay tuned for Andrew going through every single manufacturer, their history in detail.
Even all the fan-made ones. All 78 of them. I will.
Every single. There's dozens of us.
You will never find a finer tooth comb than what I'm using right now.
Oh, but with that, let's play that music.
So after that brutal assault by the Orc warrior, the initiative now goes to you. Jose, what do you do?
I'm gonna cast and we're back. Andrew,
You're nothing like your Death Stranding person,
Yeah.
Guillermo.
turn the music up. Oh man. Well, maybe we'll have him as a guest appearance.
Yeah, right.
Mr. Guillermo del Toro, will you come to our podcast that we have a total number of 2 viewers?
Okay, excuse me, Mr. Del Toro. As a fellow fan of big robots, I was wondering,
Will you play a game of Lancer with us?
would I?
Oh, I was a ghostwriter for it.
Hey, hey, so we gotta make room for Guillermo del Toro on our table. So who's gonna take the hit on this one, guys?
Andrew, you're out.
No, that would be the weirdest monkey paw situation. Like, we're finally playing Lancer, but I can't be there for it.
And with Guillermo del Toro. Oh yeah. So, before we get going, Andrew, as traditions dictate, what are you drinking today?
I am drinking a cold brew coffee of a brand that I forgot to bring the bag into the room, so I don't know what it is. However, I can definitely tell you it does have hints of vanilla and actually kind of a bit of a bourbon taste to it as well.
Bourbon?
Mm-hmm.
That's fun. Where does that come from? Where does that come from? 5 minutes earlier? Just pouring bourbon into
the bourbon that I put into it. No.
Oh, today's gonna be one of those episodes, huh?
So let's talk about big robots.
And oh
no, it just I don't know. It's just like notes from the.
Maybe they roasted it in something. I don't know. Yeah, I am drinking a pretty bottle that I found on Publix. We're like, oh, look at that.
Oh, that is pretty.
Yeah. So it's a complete hydration roar.
Whoa.
Organic cucumber watermelon water. Yeah, I think it's just like one of those sports drinks.
Oh, okay.
I never seen a nutrition facts table for a drink so large.
Oh my god.
Yeah. It's a shit ton of vitamins and shit in it. Only 1 gram of sugar, which is good.
Well, you know,
I'll tell you what it tastes like in just a minute.
It probably tastes awful.
Yeah. It tastes fine.
the world waits to see what Jose says that. That's all right.
It's okay.
That's not bad.
That's why I need to start my own review channel. I just review random shit.
Just
like, yeah, I'll buy another one.
yeah. I mean, like, yeah.
That's and then it ends with like a very over the top slang, just rating.
Yeah, but
I'll get another one.
I mean, I'm not gonna go out of my way to get one, but if it's there while I'm at the checkout, yeah, sure, why not?
That's the full out of 10 at the end.
And each word's like do on the screen.
Andrew, this gave me a brilliant idea.
I mean,
I talk about opportunities growing.
Oh no, we're gonna be a weird foodie channel now.
Yeah, like each word comes in with its sound effects. Yeah, I want to go out of my way to buy one, but if I see it around, I'll buy another one. Out of 10.
Complete with our own unorthodox ratings.
Yeah.
That's like I need like a factual number. Give me a number here. Oh god. I'll give this one a 7.1268.
out of 11.782.
Okay. There's a happy medium between these two.
Yeah.
Okay. So
today we're talking about Lancer, Andrew, and for our viewers that are listening, for our listeners that are viewing, we are upgrading here. Apparently, we're doing little presentations now. So
it's only for the stuff that we're excited about. That's why we're only doing it now. All 80 previous episodes we didn't care. That's why we didn't have a presentation. So if you're listening on our podcast, there is a small visual aid for this one, just like it was with I was gonna say Edge Runners. I mean, yeah, technically it's Cyberpunk. So that will be on YouTube on its own little, YouTube podcast with visuals and whatnot. But with that, Andrew, tell me a little bit about IPS-N-Northstar. IPS-Northstar. Well, before we do that,
here we go.
I have to make a couple small corrections because when we released our episode, I got crucified by the Lancer fandom for getting.
You did not get crucified. It was one dude,
and he was like, "I'm disappointed." No, but I did.
I know you didn't know him, but I know that it hurt when he said that.
Anyways, so I did want to make two corrections on things that I was factually wrong about that I did fact check myself on.
Boo this man. How can our listeners trust you now?
They can't. Just like
where's
they
your ukulele?
Just like, hey guys, part of the drama train. What was the hook that she had? Someone was like, I hate the fact that the hook goes actually pretty hard for such a shitty apology video. Anyways, okay, so the first correction was that -1, the moon thing that shows up, it didn't shut down Union. But what it did do is that it did wage a war against Union with the subalterns, or like androids of the moon of Deimos, against Union, and they fought to a standstill. That's why the treaty came about.
I've been telling everybody else the wrong information.
Yeah, I know. Complete and total misinformation. Don't worry. You will soon find out that I am actually in line with the themes of these manufacturers. So, and the second one is that only the first blink space station was discovered. The rest are built. But the thing about it is that blink space can be built, but it's incredibly expensive to do so. That's why there's only like a couple of them. Also, blink space is a network of gates, not like an expressway from one gate to the other. But because they are so spread out, it's still kind of like you gotta be strategic about where you're going between the blink space gates.
Right.
Okay, so
now we got that out of the way.
Yeah. Okay, so
thank you for
correcting myself.
Making a fool out of myself. No, me. I was telling everybody at work about these amazing things that were wrong.
So
now I'm gonna have to go apologize.
So blink space, get this shit right.
Comes back to me at work talking about my coworkers about it. They don't give a shit.
Yeah. They're just like on their computers, like yeah, I gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, the answer. Yeah, okay, cool, thanks.
Okay, so also before we dive into IPS-N, there's a theme, kind of a loose theme amongst each manufacturers, that each manufacturer will incorporate one of the 4 ability scores that are available for the mechs. And IPS-N, hold on, let me turn that on. My music's like really loud for some reason.
My music's banging.
No, I mean it is, but it's also like I kind of need to hear myself talk. I mean, you vibe over there. You do you, King. But just let me cook over here. So each of the 4 manufacturers more or less encompass one of the 4 ability scores that are associated with the mechs. There's obviously some Venn diagrams here and there, but it's okay. IPS-N represents the hull stat, HULL, hull. And what the hull stat determines is how physically durable your mech is. That like we're talking not armor, because a lot of the mechs will have a different armor stat, and there's actually one IPS-N mech that doesn't even have armor at all, but it's just how much health they will have, how much like physical abuse they can take. You'll be making hull checks for stuff like damaging a structure, lifting, dragging, or pushing. You can also use hull saves to endure overwhelming forces, like anybody that's using the Brawler Talent's Knockout Punch, or the Black Witch's magnetic pull from the Ferris Slash. And for every point, so every skill point, there is for every ability, there's a reward for putting 1 point in, and then a second reward for putting 2 points in. So for every 1 point of hull that you put into your mech, you gain 2 HP. For every 2 points of hull, you gain 1 repair cap. Now, what that means is that, well, do you kind of want to do like a brief explanation?
Yeah. Because repair cap is how many times you can repair your mech, right?
Right. Okay. So each frame.
See, I did my homework in the last minute just before this episode.
Okay. So I'm just gonna give a brief rundown of what like structure and repairing does. So each mech comes with 4 structure points. That's flat out. You can't change it. You can't add any. Each mech comes with 4 structure points. If you look on the stats for the mech frames themselves, it'll say like, oh, this one has only like 12 HP or 8 HP or something like that. It doesn't sound like a lot, but you have to remember, every time you lose all that HP, you're going to lose 1 structure point, and then you have to make a structure save. And depending on that, is you either come out of it totally okay and you're just a little phased, or you might lose some weapons, or if you roll really bad, you could just blow up.
Yeah. Reactor meltdown.
Yeah, but you have to roll really, really bad.
That will suck. First fight you get there, you take your first hit, just so happens to be enough to take you down. You roll, like there's no way this is gonna happen, and then you die.
I mean, to be fair, if it's your first level of structure damage, you have to roll a nat 1, and then you have to roll a second nat 1. So it's like the likelihood of that happening is pretty low.
It's known to happen.
It's non-zero, but let's just hope it never happens.
It's like Oppenheimer.
The worst.
What are the chances of blowing up the world?
It's a non-zero.
Near zero.
Yeah.
Near zero.
The worst part about it is that for each level of structure damage you take, you have to roll an extra dice. So you take 1 level of structure damage, you roll 1d6. You take 2 levels, you roll 2d6, and you always take the lowest one.
Because and remind me again, that's because let's say your hit points completely are like 10.
Mm-hmm.
If you take 20, that's 2 structure damage, right?
Yes. Yeah, you take leftover structure damage. So you will make a structure save. Your HP refills back up to full, and then you take whatever leftover damage. So like in Jose's example, you would actually make 2 structure damage rolls, and then that's how just whatever happens to your mech happens, and then you regain all that HP back. So it's really like, the way I like to look at it, it's like a Kingdom Hearts level kind of bar, where it's like the bar will go down, but then there'll just be another bar underneath it.
Yeah.
So and there's also something similar when
it's my second form. Oh.
Yeah. There's also something similar when it comes to systems, but we're not there yet. We'll get there. Systems is its own thing. So the reason why I said that is because we're going to be saying stuff, and it's like, oh, that doesn't seem like a lot of damage, but it really is, like when you think about it. And you can spend a repair cap to just bring your health back up without having to do a structure check, as long as you do it before you hit 0. So if you're at 1, spend a repair cap, you're good. No structure damage. All right, so that was pretty much that for this episode. Thank you for joining us.
All right, thank you. We'll be back with this first frame in 2 weeks.
Oh boy, no, I'm kidding. Okay, so
and then we get there thinking people like think it's gonna be like a really in-depth like thing about it with like interviews from like, and it's just us going like, man, that looks pretty cool. All right, well, see you next week.
What do you think about the Blackbeard? It's actually kind of okay. All right, anyways, so join us in another month's time when we go over the Tortuga.
Oh, classic attack of opportunity.
I just gotta rack up that episode count, man. All right, so you can definitely tell that IPS-N. Oh, actually, no. Let's go into the history of IPS-N a bit. Okay.
Yes.
So IPS-N is the oldest major corporo state. It was actually two companies. There was an Interplanetary Shipping Company and Northstar, and they merged at around 1450 U. I say around because you have to like cross-reference a couple different timelines for that. So around 1500 years after the establishment of the first union, that's when these two merged. And the merger was a cooperative movement solely to prevent piracy, because we were shipping stuff all throughout the solar system at this point. So naturally, lots of piracy because we were still trying to pick up the pieces from the collapse. They were originally based on the Theseus shipyard of Luna, or the moon, but has since moved to a oceanic planet called Carina in the Argo Navis system, which is the closest solar system outside of our own. So there's our solar,
okay.
So there's Earth's solar system, and then there'll be the Argo Navis system, and then every other system will be outside of that. Because of this, they were and still are the largest shipping company in all of humanity. Like if you're getting stuff shipped, it's more than likely going to be from IPS-N. That's not to say that smaller companies don't exist, but they're going to be a shadow by comparison of IPS-N.
Right. It's like when you get like a UPS shipment box and then you get like a DHS and you're like, ugh.
Exactly. You're like, ugh, yeah, DHL. You know?
Yeah.
So the planet of Carina, it's a generally temperate oceanic planet of shallow oceans. However, it does experience years-long monsoon seasons because at the polar ends of the planet are geysers that will fill directly into the Earth's core, and every now and then those geysers overheat and they just shoot steam out for years upon years, just coating the planet in steam. So
wait. What does this planet have to do with the company?
That's where they're based at.
That's their headquarters.
Yeah. This is almost. No, actually, there's only two companies that have a planetary headquarters. This and Harrison Armory. But it's just kind of thematically appropriate that it's an oceanic planet. So because of the monsoon years that they go through, it has a larger orbital population than it does terrestrial. So a lot of
interesting.
Yeah, a lot of people that live on Carina are actually living in orbit of Carina, not on the planet itself.
And so what's on the planet itself?
It's mainly like grasslands. It doesn't really describe much in way of trees. It's mainly grasslands and shallow oceans. So it's picturesque, but also not sustainable, really,
right.
without major terraforming. And like I said, the monsoon seasons just kind of it pretty much prevents any sort of major development there. So, I mean, IPS-N, I kind of get the feeling that IPS-N kind of just put their flag in there because, like, oh, it's thematically appropriate and nobody else wants to live here. So,
anything for the bit.
Yeah, exactly. IPS-N is also the most common manufacturer that you will see like in your day-to-day life. 9 times out of 10, wherever you're gonna go, you're gonna run into somebody that works for IPS-N, either from a ground level or a more corporate level. And in fact, that's where, generally considering, outside of Harrison Armory, IPS-N will probably be the more, what's the word? Oh God. like the more common mechs that you will see. Just because they have such a large influence. They are closely associated with the Albatross, which we went over in the last episode. There's actually one frame that IPS makes solely for the Albatross, and when we get there, you'll see why, because it's one of the most badass frames I think in the entire game. I'm
gonna take a wild guess.
Which one is it? Which one do you think it is?
Is it called a Nelson? The one that has like a spear?
You got it. Yeah. And they actually use the Albatross in their PR. Like to be like, hey, we're not.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, they're like, hey, we're not the bad guys. We're we're associated with the Albatross. We can't be the bad guys.
That's their PR team working overtime.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing about it is that the Albatross is like, but the Nelson's a really good frame though.
Right.
So the thing is, they also have their own security force called Trunk Security. They're in a setting called the Long Rim. It's also called the Dawnline Shore, so I'm gonna probably switch between the two. In a setting called the Long Rim, which is the furthest reaches from Union. It's like the Wild West. It's literally as far as humanity has gone. So people are just trying to survive out there. That's where a lot of the Trunk Security is at. They act as the de facto police force there, but they're still ultimately loyal to the company.
Right. So it's not really for the people; it's for the benefit of the manufacturer.
Yeah, because IPS-N has their fingers in the pie of the Long Rim, because naturally it's a shipping company. They're going to want to try to push, that kind of stuff as possible. But you'll probably see examples of someone that's native to the Long Rim get hit with a larger sentence, whereas someone that was like either IPS-N or working for Trunk Security will just get like a slap on the wrist for like the same thing.
Classic.
Yeah. So they maintain an image of the blue collar everyman, and what's actually really funny is that if you read just the excerpt for IPS-N in the core rule book, they're totally fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with IPS-N. They're really cool. It's a company you can drink a beer with, kind of a.
Right.
However, if you read the Long Rim supplements, things kind of get a little hazier. There's been suspicions that ever since IPS-N and by association Trunk Security have gone to the Long Rim, pirating has actually increased, and pirates are now having like suspiciously well maintained mechs and frames and stuff with more cutting edge.
It's a free navy.
But yeah, with more cutting edge technology. And the thing about it is, the really cool thing about this is that there's exactly one line that suggests all of this. And it's like, it's someone that's native to the Long Rim that's like, yeah, ever since these guys showed up, things have gotten way worse and whatnot. So it's like, is it actually bad, or is this guy just painting him in a bad light? We'll never know, or that might be entirely up to you. It's one of those things where it's like one little line, you could splice it like 4 different ways.
Yeah. I mean, I think I like the idea of like this company making it out there and then like doing back dealings. I mean, to increase our profits, but fucking everything else over.
But I mean, it's like, it's like what
Amazon.
I mean, well, yeah, but it's like what. It depends on like the GM's mood. Like, do you want to have like a kind of more black and white world? Then yeah, these guys are on the level. There's obviously going to be some shitty people in the corporation, but these guys are on the level. Or do you want to be like, no, we're totally funding these like proxy wars? Then yeah, you can have that. So, all right, so that's basically the gist of IPS-N. The history, the corporation. So now we can get into the fun stuff. Now we can get into the frames.
Yeah, frames.
So, but real quick before we do that, the core bonuses, we're not going to go over all the core bonuses because I'm not going to read directly from the book. But if you notice the core bonuses of IPS-N, it's all stuff that's physical. Like it's all stuff like it will give you +1 to armor, 5 HP.
No tech, no hacking, nothing like that.
No, nothing like this is like knockdown, drag out fighting. Like IPS-N, my personal headcanon is that IPS-N commercials in the Lancer world is a lot like the Paunch Burger commercial from I think Parks and Rec, where it's like, oh, what's my system save? Who cares? But what about my HECAP? Shut up. Buy IPS-N or you're a nerd. You know. So, all right. So onto the first frame. That's it. That's in the book. The Blackbeard.
The Blackbeard.
Now,
bro, it looks so badass.
Oh, just you wait, my friend. Just you wait. Okay, so
it's fucking the hand axe, now a big old broadsword. Broadsword.
Oh no, Mormons! Break out the Blackbeard. All right, so
that's funny.
Almost every single one of the IPS-N mechs are based on the naming conventions are based on some kind of naval history or something adjacent to it. The Blackbeard obviously is, we know the naming convention for that. However,
yeah, the guy that was black and had a beard.
Yeah. But I was actually looking up Blackbeard, and there's a quote that Blackbeard said before his final battle that I think perfectly encapsulates the mentality of this frame. And the quote goes as such: "Damnation, seize my soul if I give any quarter or take any from you." Which essentially means one of us is gonna die tonight. Okay. So the Blackbeard is essentially, imagine a D&D barbarian and Scorpion from Mortal Kombat had a baby, because that's what this thing is.
So what? Closing the gap and
you see
closing the gap and dealing some serious damage.
Okay, so you see all those for the viewers listening at home, I'm sorry, but you see all those cables like wrapped around its neck and stuff.
Yeah,
those are grappling hooks. It can grapple targets at a range. It's the only frame that can do that. That can grapple targets at a range, and
that's cool.
And each frame has something called a core power, which is like a once per battle thing. It's like an ultimate ability kind of a deal. Its core power is that it can grapple anybody, everything within a range of 5 spaces away from it, and it deals 2d6 kinetic damage to anybody it grapples, and then knocks them prone and immobilized and drags them all towards him.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
That's badass.
It is. It's so good. Okay, so the Blackbeard is a close quarter combat's like juggernaut. It actually has one of the highest base HPs in the game. 12. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but remember the structure thing. It starts with 1 armor. So anytime. So how armor works in this game is that when you take damage, you decrease the damage by whatever your armor score is. So if you have an armor, so if you do 4 damage to me and I have 2 armor, I only take 2 armor. So if you only do 2 damage, then I don't take anything because my armor is just that tough.
Does the armor decrease? Like, does it get damage? Or is it always there?
Not that I'm aware of. Actually, that's a good question.
Because like in Cyberpunk, like you have armor, but if you take damage through, it goes down by 1. So next time you take damage,
I don't believe it does, but let me double check here real quick.
I mean, it sounds to me like it might be like an ability from some other mag that can like lower armor.
Oh, there's definitely armor piercing weaponry and stuff like that. But as far as I know, you can't lose armor from anything like structure damage or anything like that. If it is, I will definitely find out, and it will be in the corrections corner for next episode.
For next episode.
So all the weapons that it can gain. Okay, just so anyone's aware, we're not going to be doing any mix and matching on my end here. I'm going to be talking just base weaponry and base gear, because I know it's a modular system, but we'll be here all day if we did that. So all the weapons that it gets just from its licensing alone, if you hit it, if you hit the target with a natural 20, it causes the shredded effect, which the shredded effect, it means that for the rest of the round until it's your turn again, the enemy does not gain benefits from resistances or armor. So it just leaves you completely and totally exposed. So there you go. So you were talking about losing armor. You can temporarily lose armor for a round.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's what the shredded effect does. And all of its weapons, all of its melee weapons do what's called reliable damage. So if you were to look at the chain axe, it says main melee reliable 2. That means even if you miss, like if you rolled below their evasion score, which is what you have to exceed to hit them, even if you roll below their evasion score, you're still going to do 2 damage to them. So
damn.
Yeah, anything with good reliable is you're going to want that. Let's see. And the heavy melee has a range of 2, which is crazy. It has like a long range for it.
So for the most part, most melee attacks are like one space around you.
Yeah, they'll be like right there in front of you. So anything that has, if it's a melee that has a range higher than 1, it's considered pretty crazy.
Nice.
Yeah. But because it's so good at grappling, like I said before, it can grapple at range. But because of its synthetic muscle netting, which is one of the equipment you can get for it, it can actually grapple enemies larger than it, which is not something you can do. Normally, if it's anything bigger than you, you can't grapple it. It's not going to succeed. But because this is a smaller mech, it's a size 1 out of 1, 2, and 3, and 1.5. It can grapple larger ones, so it can actually take down like bigger mechs. So the really cool thing about this is that this is the only IPS-N mech that has an NHP, and I think I know why. Because
what's an NHP?
NHP is it's like the super advanced AIs that we talked about in the previous episode, where it is a being that originated from blank space, and it is shackled into a casket and put into mechs, or sometimes just like general computers and systems and stuff like that. But in this case, it'll be in a mech. And what's funny is that if you read the description for the it's called the Sekhmet. Each NHP is called something different. This one's called the Sekhmet, which is probably a reference to something Egyptian. A lot of them are reference to Egyptian mythology and the polytheism. So if you were to read the description for the Sekhmet, it's this big like pitch. Like, oh, the Sekhmet will be your co-pilot in choppy waters and blah, blah, blah. And then at the very bottom, it says draft copy replaced with blah, blah, blah. And the reason why that is because the Sekhmet can't stop, won't stop. If you were to activate the Sekhmet protocol, all of your weapons, when they crit, or all your melee weapons, when they crit, they do an extra d6 damage. It can skirmish with weapons as a free action. Skirmish means they make an extra attack. But the thing about it is that when this NHP is in control, it will not stop until either the pilot uses an action to turn the NHP off or until the mech blows up. If the pilot dies, it will keep going until the mech blows up. And
oh shit!
And the worst part about it is it cannot differentiate friend from foe. It will just keep swinging. So it's like one of those.
What are the chances that the pilot can die?
Pretty high.
even if it's inside the mech.
I mean, if it's inside the mech, it's more than likely not going to die. But there are situations where the pilot might have to leave the mech and then like, okay, I'm gonna have to use the AI for right now because mechs cannot interact with like computers and stuff like that or consoles.
Yeah.
So like there might have to be something where it's like, oh, I got to put in like like this code to hack through the door. Set the mech on essentially autopilots to fend for itself while in the midst of this battlefield. So,
but I'm assuming that it can turn it off remotely, right?
It depends.
Well, what I'm saying is like, why would you turn that on if you're leaving the mech to whatever hack the code or whatever?
Well, that's the thing. Like,
how would you get back in if it's won't start?
Let's see.
Does it recognize the pilot?
I would imagine it will. It doesn't say it doesn't. So. It doesn't say it doesn't. So.
All right. Well, I mean, I'll just say that, like,
but I mean,
when he has a cough or something that he can like come back to me or something.
I mean, I would imagine most AIs can probably be, what's the word? Remote controlled, kind of, more or less. So I mean that would be.
Well, I wouldn't think the AI. I'm thinking like the actual mech itself, like shut off remotely.
Well, yeah, Okay, you know what? You're really gonna put me on blast like this? Hold on.
No, I'm asking because like I don't see the logic of not being in the mech and then dying. I mean, the mech won't stop attacking other mechs or anything.
But I mean, it could. I mean, I know it's very situational, but it's also kind of scary that there could be a situation where it's just like, oh god, the Blackbeard is just it's just doing its own thing. Like, God help us all.
It's like a dead man switch. If you kill me, I'll activate this.
Yeah, and it could be something where it's like before you activate it, you have to have like 2 keys. Yeah. And it's like, are you sure you want to do this? But so because of that, also it has a ton of weapon mounts. If you look on the stat block, it has 3 weapon mounts, which means it can carry just a plethora of weapons with it. So I mean, this thing is just going to be a beast on the battlefield as long as you're within range. Like you have to be.
But close. It sounds like, yeah, it sounds to me like he can just get in range.
Well, he can't get in range. Well, he probably can. The Blackbeard has decent speed. It has a speed of 5, but it's going to be more so the fact that it's going to get you in range. Like it's like it's gonna be like no dude, you come to me. But now you got me looking up AI because I want to make sure that it's okay. So I'll have to look it up. So
yeah, don't worry about it.
No, I'm gonna worry about it. Okay.
Okay, good.
All right. So, but the bad things about the Blackbeard is that it's gonna have some vulnerabilities. Obviously, because it is much more offensive based, it has absolutely terrible E defense, which means that anything that's going to be trying to hack against it, it's more than likely going to get in. It also has a really bad tech attack bonus, which tech attacks, you will roll tech attacks to hack or lock on to enemies within your sensor range. It has a tech attack bonus of -2, so don't try to hack with this thing.
Right.
Also, it has what's called the exposed reactor, meaning anytime you have to make an engineering check or save with it, you're going to be rolling a d6 and subtracting that from the check that you just made. So
I'm assuming because the pilot will be exposed to the reactor.
Well, no, it just describes that it has an exposed reactor. Presumably, like if you look at the artwork, you see how it has all those fans and stuff like that. So it's not super duper crazy. You can definitely find ways to beat it. However, if you get within threat range of it, good luck, man. This is generally seen as one of the scarier mechs. Right. Not the scariest. We haven't gotten there yet, but we will. Okay, so then the next one is the Drake. Good old Drake.
This is a chunky boy.
I actually like it because they specifically said that the hold on. Its frame evoking the might of ancient armored infantry from a time when greater numbers guaranteed victory. So they're like,
the big old shield
and the helmet and like the olive drab and stuff like that. So the Drake, it's a size 2. So there's 4 sizes: 1/2, 1, 2, and 3. So size 2, it's a big boy. It's going to take up a lot of room on the battlefield. It's named after Sir Francis Drake, and I think the only reason why, because Sir Francis Drake is kind of a shitty person in history. Hey, guess what? Surprise! But I think it's probably more so based on the fact that that Sir Francis Drake repelled the Spanish Armada with the English Navy in 1588. So he was like really good at defense. That's probably why the Drake is called such, because it is a defender mech. All these mechs will have roles. The previous one was a striker mech. This one is a defender mech. As a core power, it can essentially become a wall. It loses all mobility, but it becomes immune to knockback and prone conditions. On top of that, it gives anybody that's adjacent to it hard cover, which means it's going to be a lot more difficult for you to hit them. And the wall grants a trait called blast plating, which means that not just the Drake, but anybody that's using the wall cover that the Drake emits will have resistance to heat, fire damage, and any damage from burst, explosions, lines, or cones. So
he's quite literally the shield of the party.
Yeah. Once he activates the Fortress Protocol, like it's just.
Can he shoot?
Oh yeah. Oh okay. Go, can this boy shoot? Oh, we're gonna get into that.
Yeah, gonna say the Gatling gun, but you mentioned that it couldn't move or do anything else.
Oh no, it's gonna be immobile, but it can still fire.
Okay.
So if anything, it just plants its feet down, and you don't want it to plant its feet down, and we'll see why. So, just like the previous mech, the Blackbeard, this thing has a ton of mounts. It has 2 main mounts and a heavy mount. But it's gonna need those mounts because it gets the assault cannon, which the assault cannon does what's called overkill, which is kind of a 2-edged sword. That means when you roll for damage, if you roll a 1, you're going to take heat damage to yourself, but you get to re-roll that damage. So it's like with overkill, it's impossible for you to get just 1 damage,
right?
Unless you roll really bad. So almost all of its weapons, you can spin them up, and when they do, they gain more traits to it. The assault cannon, when you spin it up, you will be physically slower, but it will do reliable 3 damage. So you're always going to get 3 damage out of it. It also has a pretty good range. It has a range of 8, which for a cannon is pretty decent. I forgot to mention, this thing is absolutely beefy. It has an armor of 3. So like if you need to hit it, you got to hit it hard. And then on top of that, what's up?
What does armor of 3 mean?
That means that it's going to negate 3 damage all the time.
Okay.
So except from certain attacks, it will negate 3 damage. So anything like kinetic energy or like explosions or anything like that, it's gonna take away 3 damage from that. And then on top of the fact that it has resistances to pretty much everything else, means that it might not have a lot of HP, but you're going to be spending a lot of firepower just trying to chisel it down.
Right.
I kind of lost my plate here. So the license 3 super heavy weapon that it has, if you spin it up, does stupid damage. It can do 4d6 plus 4 kinetic damage, which, okay, I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but let me give you a little litmus test that I gave for myself. There's a mech called the Goblin, right? It has
you mentioned it before.
Yep, I have. It has a base HP of 6 HP, all right? My litmus test is, can one of these mechs kill a goblin outright in one shot? And that means going through all 4 structure points, 6 plus 6 plus 6. Can it kill a goblin in one shot? The majority of IPS-N mechs can, in fact, kill a goblin in one shot if it were to roll max dice for some of these weapons. So this is just one of them. This is the Leviathan Heavy Assault Cannon. Even if you miss, it's still going to do a reliable 5 damage.
Damn.
Yeah. And the only problem is that you can't use it as a quick action. You will have to use it as a full action to do do that kind of damage. Otherwise, you can skirmish with it, which is a quick action. Which normally for super heavy weapons, you can't do skirmish with. You have to use a full action to do it. So the fact that it can do that is kind of a big deal. It can also deploy a portable bunker. So in a 4x4 area, anybody that's inside has hard cover against all attacks from outside of the bunker, and resistances to damage from blast, line, burst, or cone attacks that originate from outside. So
this becomes a fucking bunker.
Yeah, and it's a size 4 bunker, so you can fit 4 size 1 mechs, 2 size 2s mechs, or 1 size 3 and a size 1. You know, like you can fit like almost the whole group. And because size 1 mechs are the most common size, like more than likely, like, hey, I'm gonna throw this bunker out, the rest of the party can get in there.
Right.
But the bunkers are limited. It only has 1 before it has to replenish with a full repair, which is a long rest. So the downside of the Drake is that it's very slow. It has a speed of 3, which is like the lowest one. And it makes 1 difficulty to agility checks, so it's going to take a negative d6. The base weapon itself deals 1 heat damage to the Drake, which is bad because you don't want heat, because if you take too much heat, you have to do a stress save, which is essentially structure but for systems. Absolutely crap evasion. It has an evasion score. Well, yeah. It has an evasion score of 6, so you only have to roll above a 6 to hit it.
Evading is for pussies.
Pretty much, yeah. Why am I gonna dodge it when I can just take it on the chin? And naturally, it has a bad E defense. It has a 6, so you can hack it and you can hit it, but if you can kill it, is a different story. Right. So this thing is okay. You know, I'm just gonna say it. All these mechs are awesome.
Smells like beef.
All IPS-N mechs are probably my favorite mechs out of all the.
Really?
Oh yeah. So that's pretty much it for the Drake. The next one is the Lancaster.
But it looks funny to me.
It's based off the Boston Dynamics.
Boston Robotics, yeah.
Boston Robotics, that's what it was. I couldn't remember the name. Yeah, it's based off.
Well, I want to see the mech that's able to kick this one like they do with the Boston.
Oh man, that poor Boston Robotics dog.
Yeah. So my question with this one really is, I'm assuming it's like a transport mech.
Kind of, actually.
Okay. Because it looks more what's the word I'm looking for? Not totalitarian. Like it has a function. It's not for fighting or whatever. Like I see it as doing things. I'm more like a working mech.
Yeah, it doesn't look like a like a fighting mech. And you would be right. It actually
look at that dude. He's so happy. It's just like, yeah, cheers, mate.
So it's actually what this is that IPS-N kind of militarized a transport chassis and gave it like defensive properties. The Lancaster is actually one of the few mechs in the entire game. It's one of the few mechs in the entire game that has almost no offensive capabilities. This is a support mech through and through. This is the healer of the party, and we'll get. That
was gonna be my question.
Yeah, we'll get into that. So Lancaster was named after James Lancaster, a privateer that discovered the cure for scurvy, which kind of
limes.
Yeah, well, which kind of lends into the nature of the Lancaster. Its core power is that it can shoot a latch and it can boost an ally. And it will supercharge it, making him immune to pretty much every status effect, and give 1 accuracy to all saving throws.
Oh, so it's not just healing; it's like quite literally support.
Yeah. This is
sweet.
This is the support mech.
Got it.
Yeah. It actually doesn't. It only has 1 weapon mount, and it doesn't even get a weapon based on its licensing until level 3. And even then, that's more like just it's a thermal cutter for like cutting holes in the walls. And it's like it might do damage. It's not that great offensively, but you're not going to be using a Lancaster for offensive capabilities.
Right. These guys will be more like in the back like support lines. Will not be like.
Well, actually, no. It would actually be in the shit, like bringing mechs back. Okay. So let's get into it. Unlike other mechs, you can if you're adjacent to the Lancaster, you can actually pull repair caps from the Lancaster and use them as your own. Whereas other ones you can't do that. Just whatever repair caps a mech has, that's what it has. But because the Lancaster, it has the highest repair cap of any mech in the game. It comes out with a staggering 10 repair caps, which is stupid.
What does a usual mech has?
Like 4 to 5.
Oh wow, so like double.
Yeah, and that's base. That's base Lancaster. And don't forget, every 2 points of hull you put in, you get an extra repair cap. So if you really go hard in on hull, like this thing is just, hey, who wants rations? I got them. You know.
I like how it has cooking pans and utensils right at the front. That's so funny in the art.
Yeah. I mean the Lancaster is like everyone's best friend. This is one of the few mechs that in game, if you were to like pilot a Lancaster, like you're never paying for a drink. Like people owe their lives to you.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it is, and because it's so defensive based, it has insulation, so it can't take burn damage, which is a big deal because burn damage, which we will get into, that's more of Harrison Armory's thing. Burn damage can do exponential damage over time. Where it's something where it's like as soon as you get it, you gotta put that fucking burn damage out, or else you're gonna start melting in your mech. So the fact that it can't take burn damage is a pretty big deal. And it's the only mech that can actually bring mechs back to life. So remember the whole structure damage thing that we were talking about?
Yeah.
Remember how you asked, oh, what if I roll really bad and my mech explodes? Well, that can happen, and then the Lancaster can show up, and it can use 4 of its repair caps to just bring you back.
Huh.
Yeah.
Because usually you can't. If your reactor blows up, you cannot bring it back, right?
No. Once your reactor blows up, that's it. Your mech is done.
Interesting. Okay, cool. So this guy, this guy can be very valuable then.
Yeah. So,
I was making fun of him earlier, but you know what? He's a cool dude.
Now, granted, you're not going to be completely okay. You're going to have only 1 structure point and 1 HP, but it'll still put you back in the fight. You know, like it's better than being down.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant the Lancaster only had 1 structure point.
No. All mechs have 4 structure points flat.
Got it.
Yeah. So I mean, like it will bring you back, but you got to get some help right away as soon as you're back.
Right.
But like I said, it's better than being dead.
Yeah.
You know, which by the way, that's the only status effect that IPS-N mechs can cast is dead. So what's it? So outside of healing, which it can do in spades, it can also provide support by using something called the cable winch system. And what that is that it's essentially a hook, and it can latch onto opponents, and when it latches onto them, they can't move. Like they're stuck.
Huh.
Like they are nailed to the ground, which is crazy because there's mechs that have like teleportation technology, but a piece of rope could like, nope, you're dead. You're good. You're staying right there, buddy. And
I'm assuming that this guy doesn't have to be close to that mech to do that, right?
it can. Let's see. Yeah,
Because if it's got to be close, we're gonna have a bad time.
I mean, it shoots it out at a range of 5.
Oh, yeah.
And while it's attached to the Lancaster, it cannot move outside that range. So it can still move within 5 spaces of it. But if it tries to go outside of 5 spaces, the Lancaster like digs its heel in, like, nope, sorry, man, I don't know what to tell you. You know,
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just holding him back.
Yeah. And then it can also deploy something called restock drones, which is essentially just little drones that fly around the battlefield. And if you were to go up to it, you can, as a quick action, you can refill your ammo, which is a big deal because you'll see like there are some weapons that say limited, and when it's limited, you can only use them a certain amount of times. 9 times out of 10, they'll be like limited 1 or 2. So having something in the battlefield that can bring more ammo to you is a huge deal. Because they're limited, they're also very powerful. Now you were talking about transportation. It has something called a mule harness, and when it has the mule harness, riders that are equal or smaller in size of it, not just characters, I'm talking about mechs. Riders that are equal to smaller size of it can climb onto the Lancaster, and it grants its soft cover, so it's not as difficult to hit as hard cover, but still pretty difficult to hit. And it can just ride around on the Lancaster, essentially.
That's awesome. That could be a pretty cool combo. Yeah. Just have the Blackbeard on top, fucking swing.
Death! Ride now! for the Red Dawn.
That's awesome. Yeah, this guy's pretty cool. He seems almost essential.
Yeah, I mean, it's not essential, maybe, but it's like if you're gonna have a large party, you might want to have one, you know?
Right.
But I mean, the thing about it is that because it is so dedicated as a support mech, like, don't expect to get in anything glorious, you know? Like, you're probably not going to get the killing blows or anything like that, or be like washed in blood or something. But I mean, you're going to be keeping people in the fight, which is just as important. That's really the only true negative of the Lancaster. Besides like some other stuff, like it has like pretty bad E defense, but that's IPS-N. All IPS-N mechs, almost all IPS-N mechs have bad E defense. Its evasion's not great, and it actually has lower HP. I think it has an HP of 6, but you know, it's not going to be. It shouldn't be at the forefront of the fight, but it should still be in the battlefield, obviously moving around and stuff like that.
Right.
Okay, so that's the Lancaster. onto one of the coolest ones. The more I read about the Nelson, I love this thing.
I'm excited. I knew it too, but the minute I saw the little shield stuff decorating the thing, I was like, man, this looks like a paladin of some sort.
It is you nailed it, and we'll get into why later. Okay, so the Nelson was named. It's a size 1 striker, so this thing is actually comparable with the Blackbeard in terms of like close quarter combat. Like this is the good close quarters fighter, and the Blackbeard's the evil close quarters fighter.
Yeah, dirty fighter, and then this guy is the more like, you know, heroic.
It's
stoic.
It was more than likely named after Admiral Horatio Nelson, who has a stupidly long title. I'm talking, it's like half a page of stuff.
Jesus.
Yeah. Generally considered to be a hero in the English Navy, and the Nelson encompasses a lot of heroic traits. It actually has no armor starting out, but it makes up for it in the fact that it's really slippery. It has amongst IPS frames the highest base evasion of 11, which doesn't sound like much, but you know, you can add to that to make it higher. And it has a feat called momentum, where if you take the boost action, which means you double your movement, the next melee attack that the Nelson does deals an extra 1d6 damage. Okay, keep that in mind. So if it boosts and then it hits, it does an extra 1d6. And then on top of that, it has another trait called the Skirmisher, which means after attacking, as long as there's nothing immobilizing it, it can move an extra space, ignoring attacks of opportunity or reactions or what have you.
Oh shit.
Presumably, so it can show up behind the opponent and strike like a Power Rangers pose as it's blowing up. But that's just me. Its core power, what it does is that it gives the Skirmisher ability a massive boost. So instead of moving 1 space after attacking, you can move 4 spaces after attacking, which means it's a hit and run specialist. It just goes in, pow, gets you, and then gets the fuck out.
He looks like it, especially with a spear.
It can actually. It's described in the book that it goes once the perpetual momentum drive. That's the name of the core power. Once the perpetual momentum drive activates, it says it can get to almost light speed. That's how fast it is. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So
wow.
Yeah. Fact that it's very mobile and it uses mobility as its strength. One of the a system that it has is that it has what's called bulwark mods, which means it ignores difficult terrain. So it doesn't matter. Okay. There could be a whole bunch of shit on the battlefield. It's gonna fly right through it because because you're in the way.
Right.
You know, there ain't nothing gonna stop it. Its main melee, the war pike, it can do a knockback of 1. So when it hits, you will move back 1 space, and then don't forget it can still move 1 space after a hit as long as it's boosting. No, it can still do a hit after doing an attack. So it'll knock you back 1 space, and then it can move 1 space back itself. So you'll probably unless you're like a range specialist, you'll probably almost never get a good hit in melee wise with it.
That can annoy the shit out of an enemy.
and then on top of that, you can actually throw the war pike. It's one of the few melee weapons that you can just like just chuck it at somebody, and it still does 1d6. It still does the 1d6 damage plus the knockback. And then it can when it reaches level 2, it can gain what's called armor lock plating, which it takes a little bit of heat damage to itself. It takes 2 heat damage, but when you use the brace action, which is like a very defensive action, you're harder to hit. All attacks get an extra 1d6 against it, which the brace gives a 1d6 against attacks to begin with. So now they have to roll 2d6 and take the higher of the 2 scores to subtract from your attack score. It is impossible for you to fail agility or hull saves while you're using the armor lock plating, and you gain immunity to knockback, grapple, and being knocked prone. So you're gonna stay mobile. Like,
yeah. You're not. It's gonna take a lot for you to be put down.
You're gonna stay mobile and you're
locked down,
and you're gonna stay upright. Now it has something called thermal charges as well, which when it hits with a melee attack, you can expend a thermal charge to do an extra 1d6 damage.
Oh shit!
It has a fucking smite.
So attack. you can possibly do like some pretty serious combos with this dude.
So if you were to boost with it, and you hit it with a war pike, and you hit it with a thermal charge, you will be doing 3d6 damage flat.
Jeez.
Yeah, which is pretty and then on top of that, you can just get the fuck out.
Yeah. Like, you're not engaged. You're not engaged with the other with the enemy.
Yeah, you can't touch me. So for level 3, it gains something called auxiliary knuckles, which it doesn't sound that great, but because it is power knuckles. But because it's an auxiliary melee, you get a lot more of them. So for every weapon mount, 9 times out of 10 for every weapon mount, you can put 2 auxiliary weapons on. And when you use the attack ability called Barrage, you attack with 2 weapon mounts. That's important to remember because one weapon mount can carry 2 auxiliary weapons. So if you're attacking with the mounts that have the auxiliary weapons, you'll be getting like 2 attacks with one mount and then potentially 2 more attacks with a second mount. So you'll be getting 4 attacks total if you use a lot of auxiliary weapons. That's going to come into play with a future frame. I think it's like right after this one. So, and if you crit with the power knuckles, they have your opponent has to make a hull save or they get knocked prone, which means it's easier for you to hit them.
Right.
And then it finally gets something called the ramjet, which means that you can move an extra 2 spaces when you boost, and then on top of that, all of your melee attacks gain an extra knockback of 2. So you'll just be knocking things across the battlefield, and you won't be able to, like, they can't pin you down.
So yeah, at this point it sounds like what you will have to like be hacked or use that rope thing from the the
Lancaster.
The Lancaster, yeah.
Yeah. It's the Nelson is very slippery, and to make up for it, it does have poor E defense. I think it has an E defense score of 8, so it is hackable. It also starts out with no armor,
right,
and it has a really bad sensor range, so it can't do tech attacks itself pretty much. But like I said, you have to catch it first. This thing's gonna be slipping in and out. So when you're fighting a Nelson, you're probably gonna want to try to immobilize it in some way, shape, or form. And there's multiple ways to cast immobilization on things. So don't worry about it. It's not like as if the Nelson's invincible, but it is in fact very slippery.
That's a pretty cool concept.
Yeah, there's also something. What's it? If you combine it with one of the talents for the hunter talent, because the hunter talent, I think at rank 2, all melee attacks can be thrown. So what people like to do is that they like to combine the hunter talent with the power knuckles to give it a rocket punch. like out of freaking Metal Gear.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Now, on to my favorite frame.
Jeez, I wonder why this is your favorite frame.
Oh my god. The Raleigh. But hold on, can we just bask in its glory for a second?
Oh dude, it looks epic. I mean, let me see. I see what looks like a blade in its back, then a shotgun or some sort of rifle, then a revolver and a warhammer. And then his head looks like a freaking cowboy hat.
Hold on.
And he has a cool cape.
Hold on. Okay, so you see that hole in its chest?
Yeah.
That's also a gun.
Fuck.
Okay. So
is this like the weapons master? Is that what it is?
Yeah, okay. It's a big robot with a big iron.
Yeah, I see that.
Okay, so the Raleigh, it's a striker, obviously. It's named after Sir Walter Raleigh, most famously known for the search of, or kicking off the search for El Dorado.
Right.
So that thing in its chest, that's what's called a integrated mounted weapon, which means that when you get the frame, it's a free weapon. You cannot remove it from the frame, but it also doesn't count against all your other weapon mounts, of which it has plenty. So
yeah, I see that.
Yeah. So its core power is that the integrated weapon called the Mjolnir, whenever you reload another weapon, you can fire the Mjolnir as a free action.
Oh.
Yeah. Once per round.
Does it do a lot of damage, or is it just kind of like a?
It does 4 flat damage, which is not bad.
Okay.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Now you can activate the Thunder God protocol. And what happens is that you can start to load the Mjolnir with more ammo. So every time you
Oh, it's like a revolver.
Kind of. Yeah, kind of.
No, well, it's if you see in the artwork, it has like the holes of the the barrel of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it has the chambers. So
the chambers, yeah.
So
interesting.
So what you can do is that at the end of every turn, you will load 2 rounds into the Mjolnir, and then when you so choose, you can fire the Mjolnir and all of the rounds that you loaded into it at one time, and it deals 4 kinetic damage per loaded round. So it can do 24 flat damage.
Holy crap!
Which pierces armor because of this, and it leaves your target shredded until the end of the next turn. It can kill a goblin in one fucking hit with this thing.
Yeah.
Just erase it from existence.
Jeez.
Yeah. Another big thing is that at the end of its turn, as long as you haven't attacked with it or forced it to make any saves, the Raleigh can load all of its weapons, which as a free action, which is a big deal because loading usually takes a full action to reload all your weapons. On top of that, don't forget, when it says when you reload a weapon, you can attack with a Mjolnir for free. So as long as you're like, hey, I'm going to play it passive for this round, reload all my weapons. Hey, guess what? I lied. Boom! It's somebody with a Mjolnir. And then another big thing is that it can still make ranged attacks when it's jammed, which jammed is a pretty punishing status. When you're jammed, you can't communicate with your teammates, and you can't use ranged weapons or I think make tech attacks as well. Like you're essentially limited to just melee weapons or improvised attacks. So the fact that it can still fire while it's jammed is it's like a pretty big deal, because that's like the one thing you would think can stop it, and you can't stop it. You can't stop the Raleigh.
Damn.
So all of its weapons do reliable damage. It's not great reliable damage, but still reliable damage. And because it can attack, it can hold 4 of the hand cannons at the same time. It's going to be popping things off left and right. I'm talking, what's it? There's an NPC enemy called the Grunt, which is an enemy that only has 1 HP, right? It's still gonna have like evasion and stuff like that, but only has 1 HP. The Raleigh is like the Grunt killer, because it's just like no, I'm not stuck in here with you. You're stuck in here with me, and it's just boom, 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 boom. So it can attack up to 4 times if it's using just auxiliary weapons. There's also a talent called the Gunslinger talent, which is pretty freaking obvious that you're going to want to use it for the Raleigh.
Right.
I'm not going to have time to go into it, but still. It has pretty good range, even for close quarters. The auxiliary, the hand cannon can do 5, has 5 range. The bolt thrower, which is a heavy cannon, has 8 range. And what's it? And you can also pump up even more damage with a piece of equipment called the roll-in chamber, which whenever you load a weapon, that weapon that you have reloaded can do an extra 1d6 damage to whatever you're firing against.
Damn.
Yeah. It also has
so why would you want to play any other mech from this?
I honestly don't know.
From this from this manufacturer. I mean, I'm just saying.
Okay.
It's like
I mean, I don't know. I don't get it. I mean, it actually,
the other ones were just flavor. This is the actual, doer.
Actually, what's really funny is that in lore, the IPS-N tried to roll out the Raleigh as its flagship, and it failed. Nobody
really?
Yeah, nobody's I don't know about the Raleigh. So they're just like, oh, okay, well, that was just a prototype. But I'm like,
why?
I don't know. I don't fucking know. But okay. So the bolt thrower can do 2d6 kinetic plus 1d6 energy damage. Which, can it take out a goblin? No. Can it really hurt it? Hell yeah, it can. But another thing too is that the kinetic hammer, the kinetic hammer, which is a level 3, the level 3 weapon, it doesn't do as good damage as the bolt thrower does, but it does more reliable damage. So even if you miss, you're probably still gonna be doing on the whole more damage. Right. It has a reliable 4 as opposed to the bolt thrower's reliable 2. And if you want to get a good idea of what this thing looks like in action, on page 79 for some reason, there's artwork of the Raleigh just fucking decking somebody with the kinetic hammer, and you see shockwaves and shit.
Oh.
Yeah, you just
the guy's face oh god.
Yeah. While it just blows this other mech in the fucking dust. I love it because the Raleigh looks like it's in the wake of its own shock. It's just it didn't realize how much damage the kinetic hammer can do. It also gains the Uncle Comp Con system, which is not an NHP. It's not an NHP. Okay.
Okay.
What it can do is that once per turn, with difficulty, it's not going to be free, but it can attack. It can attack with a weapon that you haven't used. So you can do the barrage ability, which means you can attack with 2 weapon frames, which means you can attack up to 4 times, and then you can have the Uncle Comp Con attack with that with the 3rd frame that you haven't used yet. So you can attack. So you can attack up to 5 times with the Raleigh potentially. Yeah, it just does not stop firing. It just keeps fucking shooting.
All right, it's your turn. What are you gonna do? Okay, and then. All right, are you done? No. Okay, keep going. Keep rolling.
All right, it's your turn. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna activate Deadeye. That's what I'm gonna do. Why is that Raleigh smoking a cigar? Should I be worried?
A big mech-sized cigar.
Oh, bro. Oh, God, Raleigh. I fucking love you. Oh. Okay. So, moving on from that, we are now going to get into a surprisingly good tech-based fighter. The Tortuga.
I would not get that from the image because this guy looks chunkier than the turtle.
You wouldn't think so, but it actually is a good, like, for IPS-N, it's a good tech-based fighter. Yeah.
Dude, this is like, I like the weapons. Is this like a what's the name of the other one that we just talked about that was like the wall?
It's like the Drake.
The Drake, yeah. Is this like the Drake?
Kind of. It is actually a it's a hybrid class. It is a striker and defender. So
I would like to imagine like two brothers like role playing with these two mechs.
Oh, the Drake and the Tortuga.
Yeah.
Where it's like anything you can do, I can do better. So
damn it, Timmy! Fuck!
So the Tortuga, it's a size 2 mech, so it's a big boy.
Just like the Drake, right?
Yeah. So the Drake is also a size 2. Yeah. So these are some beefy boys that I
can you imagine like these two guys holding the line in the front, and then you see the fucking Raleigh just coming out.
Yeah, just
from behind them.
It comes out behind the Drake and the Tortuga, and somehow doves are showing up.
Big size mech doves. Like what the fuck?
We paid a lot of money for those mech doves. You better go.
They follow us everywhere.
Yeah, you better go get them back. But oh shit. Okay. So the Tortuga is named at more than likely named after the Buccaneer port of Tortuga, which was considered to be one of the safest pirate havens of the 17th century outside of Port Royal. And because of that, the Tortuga encompasses a good mix of offensive and defensive capabilities. If you're adjacent to the Tortuga, you automatically gain hard cover. So yeah, kind of like the Drake. Like if you're close to it, you can get defensive.
Yeah, I can see that because this thing is so fucking massive.
It's a big boy. Hold on a second. Popping pills live on there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
But okay, so its core power is that anything that has a range of 3, or anything that has a less than a range of 3, gains range 3. So if you have like a knife, and there is a knife weapon in this game. If you have a knife and it has a range of 1, it automatically gains range 3.
Oh shit, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then on top of that, whenever it uses the Overwatch reaction, which is essentially an attack of opportunity, not quite, but for the sake of our discussion, it's essentially an attack of opportunity. If it successfully attacks with the Overwatch reaction, it immobilizes the target. So it's just like, wait a minute, boom, it shoots you, and you just stop where you're at right there. Like
okay.
Yeah, fuck the rest of your movement. So this is probably your answer to the Nelson. If you kind of.
You're putting against each other.
Kind of, because the Nelson is still a bit slippery, but the Tortuga can be a good counter against it. It's surprisingly robust. It has really, for IPS-N, it has crazy sensor range. It has a range of 15 sensors, which means like anywhere within a range of 15 of it can use tech attacks on. and it has a tech attack.
Does it have tech attack? Okay.
It does. It has a tech attack bonus of +1, which is like, which is okay. To give you an idea, the best tech attack bonus is +2, like base. So it, so it having +1 is like weird. Oh, also remember how I said it can immobilize people on Overwatch? It gains one. It gains 1 accuracy for specifically Overwatch. So when it attacks you and it's using the Overwatch reaction, it's going to gain a D6 on that attack roll. So what?
This is essentially almost like a little bit of like crowd control.
Yeah, this frame it said was specifically for what's it? Like oh crap, what's the actual term for it? It was made for breach and clearing. So it's like hey,
it looks like it.
That's a pirate ship right there. You know, place one of the mines because it does have mines on it. You know, breach charge, boom, get in there with a shotgun.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
All right. The so it has one of the first pieces of equipment is that it has a siege ram, which means when you ram an opponent, you can do damage, which is a pretty big deal because normally all you can do is knock them back, but you'll deal 2 HP damage to an opponent, or you can deal 10 HP damage to terrain, which is usually the base HP for terrain. So it's gonna Kool-Aid man its way through the wall. Yeah. Just be like, you hear that?
Oh god!
Oh yeah! And then it uses the deck sweeper automatic shotgun to blow you away.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's why it has like that shield plating on the right side arm only. It's like it's ramming. Yeah.
More than likely, yeah. So that way it can shoulder tackle anything. The deck sweeper, pretty good damage. 2d6 for a level 1 weapon is really good. The only problem is that it has the inaccurate trait, so it's going to, you got to roll a d6 and then subtract it from your attack roll. The daisy cutter makes up for it though, because the daisy cutter has a cone of 7, which means 7 spaces up and out. It's going to attack everything within that cone.
Damn.
And then it deals 3d6 damage. The only thing stopping the daisy cutter from being an absolute like nightmare is that it has limited ammunition. Yeah, but
if you have your nice Boston Dynamic resupply,
yeah, if you got your buddy Lancaster there, like just be like at Hot Fuzz, just shame while you're reloading the daisy cutter, just blowing everything away. But what's really cool is that when you fire with the daisy cutter, it shoots up so much debris that within that area of the 7 cone, you gain soft cover, because it's just like everything is just like
holy shit!
It's just dust, debris, and gunpowder. Damn. So it's like cone of cold and fog at the same time.
Right.
And then it also gains the catalytic hammer, which for some reason is a melee weapon that needs to be reloaded.
It's like a spring that needs to go back down or something.
Either that or it uses, or it's like a oh god, the weapon from Final Fantasy VIII. The gun.
Fuck! Yeah, the gun sword.
Yeah, the gun sword.
Yeah.
Hold on, I gotta reload my sword real quick. The damage is pretty okay. It does 1d3 plus 5, but the pretty okay, plus 5. Okay. But the big thing is that when you hit it with a critical, your opponent has to make a hull save or they become stunned. And when they're stunned, they can't take. I don't think they can't take reactions. I don't think they can take normal actions either. Don't quote me on that. I just know for a fact that stun's a bad thing to be. Now, for License 3, it doesn't gain any weapons, but instead what it does is that it gets better ammunition. It gains something called the through bolt round. So what that means is that you can choose one close quarter combat gun, or a cannon, or a rifle. And when you attack with it, instead of targeting one thing, it will instead do what's called line damage. So if it's range 3, you're going to attack not only that thing at the end of the range, but anything in between it as well.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it's just gonna.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's just gonna punch through all that stuff. So what's gonna happen is that instead of rolling damage for everybody, anybody that's in between you and the target is gonna get a flat 2 armor piercing damage. So yeah, so it's almost guaranteed damage for hitting somebody through a crowd. And you also get what's called a hyper dense armor, which you can activate it as a quick action. And when you do that, you gain resistance to all damage and anything that originates from a range of 3 and beyond. However, you lose a bit of mobility. You can only move like half your speed because of it. So it can really like lock down and just like put up a pretty big fight. The trade-off is that it has really bad mobility. It only has 3 speed. It has really bad evasion. It has only evasion at 6. And you would need to upgrade your system points to get the full breadth of what it can do, because everything costs system points, and it actually does not have enough system points base to get all the equipment that you can unlock for it. So you are gonna have to put points into systems to get more system points for it. But I mean, that's a Tortuga. It's not as flashy as the Raleigh, personally, but I feel like in the right hands, it can be devastating.
Yeah, it's more of a slow heavy hitter instead of the fast non-stop, bullet array that you get from the Raleigh.
And with its surprisingly good tech attack bonus, like you can stop a fight before it even starts. Just like, no, you're gonna just shut you down.
Right.
I don't know.
No.
I don't know why this was the one that has a good tech attack bonus, but I'm not against it. So
yeah, doesn't seem like it would be this one. Ugh.
Yeah, but hey, it is what it is. All right, on to the next one.
This one, I saw the picture for this one. I was like, what is happening here? Is it Vlad the Impaler?
It's Vlad. Notably, not a pirate or a Navy officer or reference. However, it does say face in game because the Vlad is actually a updated model of what was previously known as the Yi Sun Shin model, which is a Korean admiral that was known for repelling the Japanese Navy. Yeah. So.
This like looks terrifying.
It is terrifying. Oh, let's get into it. Okay, so the Vlad, it has something called Shrike Armor, which if you start within a range of 3 and if you start within a range of 3 of the Vlad and you make an attack against it, you're going to take 1 damage. Just flat.
Okay.
And it's armor piercing damage too. So if you have armor, oh well. That's cute.
That's somebody who's all the spiky stuff in his armor.
Yes, that's fun fact. The shrike is a bird that's known for impaling its prey before eating it. So. So.
Interesting.
Yep. One thing to remember, and because you're going to be hearing this a lot, if the Vlad inflicts the immobilized status on an enemy, that enemy is also shredded. Until it can free itself from the immobilization.
What does shredded mean?
That means it loses its armor.
Does it have a six pack now?
No, yeah, it's fucking buff. It turns into a Tortuga. No. If it's shredded, it loses the benefits of armor and resistance.
Okay.
Yeah. So it
also I just realized that it has 4 arms.
Mm-hmm. The better to impale stuff with.
Yeah. As you do.
So its core power, it's not something like, it's not too terribly great. It's called the Tormentor Spines, and for the rest of the scene, which that's what a fight's called. A fight's called a scene in this game. For the rest of the scene, you gain resistance to all damage within a range of 3, and your strike armor deals 3 armor piercing damage instead of 1. So anybody that tries to attack you is going to get 3 flat out. Just, so don't even bother attacking it. Okay, so it starts with the Impact Lance, which it has a range of 3, and you can in fact attack in a line against opponents. However, you're going to take 1 heat for every opponent that you attack. So
okay,
it's kind of a trade-off. It's like, do you really want to do this or not? The fact that the Vlad has, I think, a really low heat cap. What's its heat cap? Yeah, it has a heat cap of 6, so it's really not that great for heat. So it's really just more like, how badly do I want to punish these opponents?
Right.
So and also at level 1, it gets the web jaw snare, which it's essentially a trap. You can lay a trap in the middle of the field, and if anybody steps in it, they have to make a hull save or take 1d6 armor piercing damage and get immobilized, which causes shredded.
Right.
Okay. This one, they can also launch caltrops.
Fun.
It can within a range of 5, it can blanket a space of the map with caltrops, and if you were to walk by the way, they're explosive caltrops. It makes the area difficult terrain, and if you walk through it, you take 1d3 armor piercing damage just by walking through it. There's no save, no nothing. Just if you go from A to B, you're taking 1d3 damage. And then it gets the Impaler Nail Gun, which if you hit with the Impaler Nail Gun, it takes 1d6 plus 1 damage, and then you have to make a hull save, or else you're gonna get immobilized. Which makes
so that's this guy's thing then.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's literally nailing down opponents.
So the rest of the party can come in and beat the shit out of them.
Yeah. So it nails you down, removes your armor, and then here comes the Blackbeard.
And the nails it.
Okay, so this next one. Okay, this next weapon, the combat drill. It's a super heavy melee attack. So it's a super heavy weapon, takes up 2 frames. It's gonna take up a heavy frame and then any other frame that you have available. It's already armor piercing, so just hey, fuck your armor. It does 3d6 plus 1. It does 3d6 kinetic damage plus 1d6 energy damage, and then it gets the overkill. So what that means is that if you are attacking a character that's prone, immobilized, or stunned, which it should be one of those things if you're using a Vlad,
right?
When you use this weapons, the weapons overkill tag does an extra 1d6 damage. So you'll actually be doing
and all of this damage is armor piercing.
This one in particular is armor piercing. So you're actually if you're attacking an immobilized target, you're going to be doing 4d6 kinetic damage plus 1d6 energy damage, and then on top of that, you can activate the overcall indefinitely. So if as long as you keep rolling ones, you can keep rolling more damage on top of it. So. Damn. So, can it kill a goblin? Yeah. You can overkill a goblin multiple times. It will. This thing will be the drill that will pierce the heavens. I saw that and I'm like, oh, now I understand why they said every mech is busted in this game.
Yeah. Jeez, man.
Okay, so and then it has the charge stakes, which you fire a stake at a character adjacent to you. They have to make a hull save, or they become immobilized.
Of course, would not be. Yep, doesn't surprise me anymore.
Yeah, but the thing about it is that on hit, they gain one. They get hit with 1d6 energy damage, and then they get immobilized. Every turn until they free themselves, they will keep taking 1d6 energy damage.
Damn.
So while they're impaled, they're gonna keep getting shocked until they either pull the stake out from them or pull themselves out from the stake. So yeah.
you can do some nasty combos with these with just the with just this manufacturer.
We haven't even gotten into the other manufacturers, and you can already see like the power plays.
Yeah.
Just wait until we get into like Horus and stuff. Because when you throw Horus into the mix, everything's off the wall. Like all bets are off. But the negatives for the Vlad is that it doesn't have very good evasion. It has only an 8 evasion. It has really bad tech attack.
No, because it wants to pierce you. Why would it evade you?
Yeah, no. Why are you running? Why are you?
Yeah. Why are you running? Why are you running?
It has a poor tech attack bonus of like -2, but that doesn't matter because
yeah, that's like every single one of these guys.
It has low sensor range of 4, low repair cap of 4. And you need to upgrade the system points to get all the abilities and stuff out of it. So that's it for the ones that are in the base book. Now, these next two are going to be the ones that are specifically in the long run. Now, here's the thing, and I really want to emphasize this point. Up until this point, IPS-N has kind of had a sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Like a facade of being more like a defense-based mechs. And you can kind of argue for that point.
Yeah, like the Vlad, defense-based.
Well, no, you could. I didn't say it's a good argument, but you can make an argument that that these are defense-based mechs. They're pretty short range. So it's a lot of like retaliation. The Tortuga, like it can use its tech attack instead of like shotguns and stuff like that. The Vlad can just, it can just cast immobilization. It doesn't have to do any of the other damage to it. And then you have like the Lancaster, which is just purely support. So up until this point, you can kind of make the defense that IPS-N is one of the good guys. This next one throws that right out the window. The Caliban.
You think he was reading Caliban's War when he made this one?
I'm not.
Because if this doesn't scream Bobby Draper, I don't know what does.
It might be a reference to Caliban's War, but it also might be a reference to the character Caliban from The Tempest by Shakespeare.
Well, I mean that's what the book was based off of too.
Yeah.
Or not based off of, but you know what I mean, the title.
Yeah. So I want to read a small excerpt from the description of this mech, just to kind of emphasize the point of what this thing is capable of. And hold on, I gotta wet my whistle before I do that. Okay, so unlike many IPS-N frames, the Caliban has no roots in an early attempt at self-defense by freighter crews and asteroid miners. It was not born from ingenuity. There is no legacy of resilience, heroism, or the frontier spirit to paper over the purpose of its birth. It has no civilian applications in aid, disaster relief, construction, or farming. It does not build, defend, or inspire. It was designed to solve a numbers problem on a ledger. It is a tool designed to kill human beings very, very quickly.
Dang.
This is one of the few mechs that like evokes like fear.
Right.
Like out of me. Like if I were if you see a Caliban, it's gonna be a bad time. And actually in my notes I did put, hey kids, y'all like violence? Under the Caliban. Now here's
is that a double barrel shotgun on its wrist?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no, hold on. We'll get into it. Okay. So So a Caliban, the Caliban is actually the smallest frame that IPS-N has. It's a one half, which essentially means it's just essentially power armor. And in fact, you can kind of see the pilot inside the Caliban. That hand that's like cocking the shotgun, that's the pilot's hand. That's not the Caliban.
Okay, so not all of them are massive mechs.
No, and in fact,
interesting.
Anything that's like one half, like there's one the Goblin in particular, like you can actually see the pilot like strapped into the Goblin. So so one half means that it's essentially just a little bit bigger than a human. Like think of like Iron Man, or something like that, you know.
Yeah. Dude, then this is definitely Bobby Draper,
but
power armor inspired.
But I mean, you have to understand this thing was meant to kill people, not mech.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So, so it has an armor of 2 base. On top of that, whenever it does knockback or ramming attacks, it counts as a size 3. So it's a little guy, but it counts as the biggest mech available when it's inflicting knockback or ram against an opponent.
Interesting.
The crazy thing about it is that it also has an ability called Pursue Prey, which means whenever you knock back an opponent, it can move totally free, ignoring engagement and terrain, the same amount of spaces towards your opponent that you just gained knockback against. So,
okay.
And now I know that doesn't sound that great, but what that means is that anything that like, remember how if you're adjacent to the Drake when it's doing the Fortress Protocol, you gain all those resistances and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, the Caliban, it hits you with a knockback, you get knocked away from the Drake, and then the Caliban starts coming after you. So there's a lot of frames that will give you bonus. Well, not a lot, but there's a good amount of frames that will give you bonuses if you're adjacent to them, and not just cover and resistances, but just like, you know, accuracies and stuff like that. So the fact that it can knock you away and then come after you means that it maintains a level of being a threat against you personally. This thing is really good at one-on-one fighting. It also does launch damage. If you knock an opponent into a wall or a piece of terrain, when you hit that wall, you take you have to pass a hull save or take 1d6 kinetic damage and become impaired until the next of your turn. So if it rams you into a wall, you're going to be crippled until your next turn.
Damn.
Yeah. It has an integrated weapon, which is the wrist shotgun.
Yeah.
The flare shotgun, which all of its weapons, by the way, do knockback. So like, don't get comfortable where you're at. With the flare shotgun, whenever you make an attack with this weapon, you can use it to smack an adjacent target to deal 1 extra damage and then knocking them back. So you can shoot somebody that's within range, and if there's somebody next to you, you can just belt them with the flare shotgun.
Oh.
Yeah. The drawback is that it's inaccurate, so it's going to take a d6 and you minus that. However, if you use its core power, which is called the auto choke, the flare shotgun for the rest of the scene gets a cone of 3. So instead of attacking one opponent, it can attack in a spread. It gains accurate, and then it gains a knockback of 5. So it's just crowd control at that point. It's just meant to destroy people. Which, to give you an idea, a Lancer pilot, not even just a normal person, a Lancer pilot, you're supposed to be the best of the best. You only have 4 HP. So the fact that it's doing like 1d6 plus whatever means it's just melting people left and right. The hammer launcher that also it has good range. It is inaccurate though, but it also has something called arcing. And what arcing means is that so long as you can see your opponent, it's going to ignore terrain. So like if it's within sensor range, don't quote me on this, I might be wrong, but I believe if it's within sensor range, you can launch an arcing round and it can go over walls and terrain and still hit you. So like walls will not protect you from arcing weapons.
Right.
The supermassive mod gives it even more knockback on melee, cannon, or CQB weapons, and it also gains that overkill tag. So if you roll a 1 on a damage, you can re-roll the damage on it. The hard point reinforcement. So long as you're not immobilized or slowed, you gain resistance to all damages. And then you get something that's called the spike grenade, which you can. It's actually, it doesn't impale the target, or no, it doesn't immobilize the target. What it is that it will impale the target. So you can throw it, and you can stick it to your target, and when that happens, they have to make an agility save or take a certain amount of damage. Now you can also use the grenade as a mine as well, and you can place it on the ground. And when that happens, anyone that gets within range of the mine, it automatically latches onto them. So they have to make they have to make an agility check as well. It also gains the rapid maneuver jets, which means it can fly. This thing has gained.
It's a small boy, so yeah, I can see that.
It gains the ability to fly, and while it's flying, it gets a temporary shield. It's called overshield, which means if it's like overshield, whatever the number is, you have to go past that number first to then hurt it. So it gains an overshield of 3, so it gains even more armor, essentially temporary armor. That's not the cool thing. The cool thing is the cannibal shotgun that it gets.
Cannibal shotgun.
Now hold on a second. It does pretty stupid damage in of itself. It does 2d6 plus 4 damage, right? To one target. If you want to, you can. It's a double-barreled shotgun. If you want to, you can fire both rounds to gain 1 in accuracy, but to increase it to 3d6 plus 4 damage. On top of that, when you reload this shotgun, the shells from the shotgun are ejected out at such force that it deals 5 damage to anyone adjacent to you.
What?
It actually says in the description that the velocity of the cartridges spent is so much so it can decapitate a person.
Why?
Why?
I mean,
not?
I get it.
But can you imagine just reloading a fucking shotgun
Wow.
and hurt somebody?
I mean, it kind of makes sense though. It's like a super beefy fucking power armor.
Yeah. Oh man, the cat. That just. But the problem with the Caliban is that it has a lot going for it, but it also has a lot going against it. All of its base weapons are inaccurate, and it has awful tech attack bonus, but it also gains 1 difficulty on all system saves, so it makes it even easier for you to hack it. On top of that plus its low E defense range means that it's just really successful. It's susceptible.
You got this.
Susceptible to being hacked and stuff. It only has, despite the fact that it has a lot of weapons available to it, it only has 1 weapon now. So it's like you can't bring the whole thing into the game. You have to pick one of them. It's also not a good look in the public eye, just PR.
Yeah, I can see why.
I would imagine, like in the right group, if you were to use a Caliban, it's like, oh, why are you using that? All right. On to the final frame. The Jing. Named after...
This looks pretty cool.
Just you wait, my friend. The Jing is named after Jing Yi Sao, a Chinese pirate queen that operated from 1801 to 1810. Known to be the most successful pirate in history of piracy. At the height of her power, had upwards of 60,000 pirates at her command.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know who she is. I've seen her in pop culture, but...
So this is a melee-based brawler that has a backstory that's so cool. I wish they make a one-off of it. So the backstory behind the Jing is that this was originally a Raleigh mech that was being used by a mercenary company called the Mirror Smoke company. And during a security detail in the Don Line shore, the pilot of the Jing, which was a pilot by the name of Zhao Li Zhang, I might be pronouncing that wrong, they were waylaid by a pirate group called the White Tigers. Now, a lot of the details were lost because when the White Tigers attacked, they like cut off all communication with them. But Zhao Li was able to modify her Raleigh because it had lost a lot of its weapons in the initial fight. Was able to modify her Raleigh where instead of being a short range like weapons, like ranged weapon fighting, was just no, I'm just gonna make it punch really fucking hard. And so the mech you see before you was actually what she did during the downtime of all these assaults that the White Tigers were committing against the ship. And when IPS-N's trunk security arrived, they found what was left of the original Jing frame. They couldn't find Zhao Li. It's believed she's dead. They found trace evidence of her body on the ship, but they found the White Tigers flagship with a huge fucking hole punched into it. And also 45 dead White Tiger mechs just strewn across the battlefield.
Damn.
So because of that, a lot of people in the long run, specifically in the Mirror Smoke company itself, they try to hit something that's called the Jiang limit, where they try to get 45 confirmed kills against mechs.
Dang.
Yeah. It was actually like when I read it, I got chills. I was like, oh man, this is so cool.
Literally just a survival moment that turned into like an epicness. I'm assuming that's just like a big punch thing that it has.
Yeah, that's a big fist. That's just a really big fist. So because it is a Raleigh, it still gains the ability to use weapons while it's jammed. Certain weapons, because like I said, it is a modified Raleigh. However, one of the cool things about it is that every time it makes a melee attack against a hostile character, the melee attack itself is so strong that it will rip up a piece of terrain and make hard cover out of it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So it says the force of the swing creates a size 1 piece of terrain to gain hard cover behind. As a right out the gate, it gains something called Zhao Li's tenacity, which means that you can move not for free. You can still do reactions, or reactions can be against you. But you can move up to three spaces and then just deal 2 damage. Like, you don't have to roll. You just deal 2 damage to something, or 10 damage to a piece of terrain. If you were to cause destruction of terrain using this ability, the terrain explodes in a shotgun blast, and any adjacent characters within that terrain take 1d6 damage. Now, you can only do that once per turn, but the core power called Zhao Ingenuity means you can do this 6 times per turn. So 6 times you can move up to 3 spaces and either smack somebody for 2 damage or damage the terrain and potentially make a shotgun blast of debris, dealing 1d6 damage. Not immediately like wowing anybody, but the fact that this thing can just like move around a lot using this ability, and then like blowing things up just with its fist can really change like the tide of the battle, or just like mess with terrain and stuff, like knocking down cover and whatnot. So its first weapon is called the Tiger Hunter Combat Sheath. With it can attack 2 targets instead of 1, and you can use it even while it's jammed. So it still has a bit of that Raleigh aspect to it. And then it also gains the first of the total strength suites, which means you can rip up a piece of terrain and hurl it at somebody within a range of 5, and that person has to make an agility save or take a 1d6 damage and be knocked back 1 space. And then
How big? Huh? How big is this mech? This is a size 1?
This is I forgot to mention. Yeah, it's a size 1 striker. So it can rip up a piece of terrain as big as it and then hurl it at somebody. Yeah. And then after you do that, you can take another piece of size 1 terrain and make hard cover out of it.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's cool. So it's kind of like your monk.
Kind of. This is a much more melee based essentially like a fist fighting kind of character. And then when at level 2 you get the Molten Wreath, which you take a little bit of heat damage yourself, and that's fine. But whenever you attack with a melee weapon, anybody within a cone of 3 of that attack takes 2 energy damage, because you have overheated your weapon and it throws out like superheated slag out.
Ooh, that's cool.
In a cone of 3. And you can do that once per round. And then you also get the second level of the total strength suite, which means when you're grappling a character, you can also deal 1d6 damage as you're grappling, which normally you can't do. You can't damage somebody while you're grappling them.
It's just
yeah, no, it's just it just gets them in a headlock. Okay, so the final weapon it gets is called the DD-288. It's a super heavy melee weapon, which is really uncommon. You usually don't hear super heavy melee. This is also the only other super heavy weapon that you can attack while skirmishing. If you do that, if you use it normally, it's kind of okay. It only does 1d6 damage and it has a reliable 3. However, you can charge the weapon, which it's going to take a turn for you to charge it, so then on your next turn you can attack with it. But while you're charging it, you gain the benefits of soft covered. You are slowed and you take 2 heat damage. However, it will do absolutely stupid damage. It will do 4d6 plus 8 energy damage, and even if you miss, it does a reliable 8 damage. So this is the most I've seen for reliable damage, is 8. So even if you miss, you're still going to do 8 damage. And on top of that, if you don't use it for to attack an opponent, you can deal 30 damage to a piece of terrain, which is like 10 is the norm. 30 is like stuff for like impenetrable walls and stuff like that. If it destroys the object or the terrain, it also does 1d6 damage to anybody adjacent to it, and it knocks them back for 1 space. And then the final thing it gets is that it gets the final piece of the total strength suite, which means when you're grappling an opponent, you can throw them 5 spaces and you can knock them prone, or you can throw them into another target or a piece of terrain, and they have to make a hull save or take damage from that.
Dang.
Yeah. So
this guy is just super mobile all around the battlefield and just fucking punching and moving people around by throwing them and dang.
I mean, it is mobile, but it's going to take risks when it does that. Because,
yeah.
Because its own base mobility is actually kind of low. It only has a speed of 3. But if you use, but that's just normal, just moving throughout the battlefield. If you use the Zhao-Li's tenacity, you can gain more speed, but you're going to be vulnerable. You know, so it's kind of a really interesting like give or take, you know. So, but I really like the Jing, more so for the backstory. Like I love the backstory of the Jing. And I wish they made an adventure out of that. Maybe we will. Okay, I'm really sorry for stealing this episode. I know I just did a lot of talking.
But that was the whole point. You're explaining to me the specific Lancer manufacturer to me.
Yeah. So there is one more IPS-N mech, but it's for one that I don't have. Actually, no, there's 2 more IPS-N mechs. But they're both for some core books, or not core books, but they're both for books that I don't have. So we didn't go over those, but yeah, one of them was called The Kid, which is essentially like the Lancaster but cooler, if that's even possible. And the other one was just the other one was an alternate frame for the Raleigh. So
okay,
yeah, which means that it has some differences, but it's largely kind of the same.
Dude, it's kind of crazy because like all of these could have just been like the base classes for any RPG.
I think that's kind of what they were going with IPS-N. Don't quote me on that, obviously, but you can definitely see how like the Blackbeard is the barbarian.
Yeah.
The Nelson's the rain, or not the Nelson's the paladin. The Lancaster's the cleric. The Jing is the monk. The Caliban is war crimes. You know,
as any good RPG should have.
Yeah, you know, you classic D&D classes.
Yeah. and then they were like, we can make more.
So,
damn, that's cool.
All right,
I can't wait to play Lancer. Honestly,
I can't either, and we haven't even gotten to like the crazier mechs. Like,
damn,
these are just the ones that do like normal damage. Like, we haven't gotten to the ones that can like melt your systems or like make you think that like you're going through hell or something like that.
Jeez.
Yeah, it only gets crazier from here.
Well, thank you for walking me through all of these. I think I have a better understanding. I think I have a couple that I want to play. Surprisingly, the one that I thought looked the goofiest is the one I kind of want to play, honestly.
The Lancaster?
Yeah, I don't know why.
The goofiest one is the one I want to play. Don't talk to the Tortuga like that. Come on, it's trying. Okay, so I want to play the Raleigh naturally.
Yeah.
But like every now and then I'll look at the Nelson and be like, maybe someday.
Yeah. Oh, well, sadly we haven't played for 3 weeks, so we don't really have campaign highlights.
We don't have session highlights. So that's kind of going to be the end of the episode.
Yeah. However, though, if you haven't heard, Baldur's Gate 3 release, so you better play if you're listening. Go play it. It's the best game ever.
Hey, are you aware that Baldur's Gate's out? I didn't know that Baldur's Gate's out. Jose,
Yeah, Andrew.
Jose's only been talking about it like every other hour.
Dude, I've been nonstop playing. You know, the minute I'm done here, I want to eat something and come back and play more Baldur's Gate. Ask me if I've done any of my freelance work. No.
Well, that's why it's called freelance. It's not like it's not half the lance. It's freelance.
Yeah, I guess. So yeah. Well, yeah. No session highlights. That's kind of crazy.
I mean,
wow. Like yeah, there's been like weddings and a bunch of crap in between. So
yeah.
But hopefully we'll be back this Wednesday with more Rime with the Frost Maiden. So
hopefully, because you guys have been staring at the boss of that dungeon for the past like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's been kind of awkward.
Yeah.
I know, like you guys. You guys gonna like do anything?
Do something?
Or... No. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you everybody who joined us today for this episode of Attack of Opportunity. I hope you enjoyed Andrew going over the IPS-Northstar manufacturer in Lancer. We will be making more episodes like this, doing a deeper dive into Lancer and Cyberpunk. So next time is Cyberpunk.
Maybe not as deep of a dive next time. I kind of realized I was like halfway through. I'm like, oh, these notes are pretty dense.
And I hope it giving you a little bit of like a oomph to go play or check out Lancer at least, because it's a pretty awesome RPG and it's very in depth. But with that, you guys have a wonderful rest of your week. Go out there, play some Baldur's Gate. It is totally you think you have to do.
Yeah.
If you don't play Baldur's Gate, do not come back to this podcast ever.
I heard that they actually made it to where like you have to play Baldur's Gate as part of the US citizenship test.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, you know.
Yeah. Before you have to mandatory military, you have to do mandatory Baldur's Gate.
Mandatory Baldur's Gate. Yeah, yeah.
That's definitely how it works.
Of course.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much. I hope you guys had a good time, learned something. See you all Wednesday. Please make sure to comment, review, rate, and do all the things that give us engagement. That helps us out. And as always, keep on gaming. See you guys later. Bye.